Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Contract Revolution, the podcast by Breakthrough Academy. My guest on the show today is Allan Dib. He's the author of the one-page marketing plan and his most recent book, Lean Marketing. Now, the idea is pretty simple. Marketing creates a lot of waste. So today we're going to talk about 9 lean marketing principles from the book that will help you get more leads, more profit with less marketing. I hope you enjoy.
You're watching Contractor Evolution, where we unpack the systems, tactics, and skills you need to take your fast-growing contracting business to the next level.
You're here to learn what it takes to scale up, work less, and increase profitability. You've come to the right place.
Stay tuned to learn what separates the new breed of contractor from the old school, and welcome to your ultimate guide on the business of contracting.
Allan, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm exceedingly well. Pleasure to be on, Benji.
I love the book, and I wanted to start with some definitions at the beginning. So it's called Lean Marketing, and I thought we'd start with the lean part. And I think, by the way, a lot of our listeners will be somewhat familiar with lean manufacturing, some of its principles, but why don't you talk a little bit about what lean means to you and sort of like
Sure.
its origins in manufacturing and sort of how it led to this book that you've written?
Yeah, so it does have origins in manufacturing, but lean as a concept has gone into many different industries, including construction and services and a lot of different medical industries as well. But in short, lean is a way to do more and more with less and less. So less human effort, less equipment, less time, less space. And a lot of it is about removing waste. So how can we do more with less? So how can we remove the waste, and how can we provide customers with exactly what they want? So in a manufacturing context, that might be removing steps, removing inefficiencies with the manufacturing process, or wasted parts, wasted effort, all of those sorts of things. So that's really lean, and the origin of lean, like you say, being manufacturing. And because manufacturing efficiency is so correlated with profit, so it's been something that's kind of completely revolutionized manufacturing, and it's something that I wanted to apply to marketing, because marketing is an area that has so much waste. You know, a lot of people say, half my marketing is wasted, I don't know which half, right? A manufacturer would never say that, right? A manufacturer would never say half our raw materials are wasted, but we don't know which half. So I wanted to apply lean to marketing and basically allow us to do more with less.
Say a little bit more about why this is so important for the space of marketing. Why there's so much waste in this sector of businesses in general, and then why is this just like such a critical thing to get right on the marketing and revenue side of our businesses?
Yeah, so from a marketing context, there's so many bright, shiny objects. There's so many different things that we can be doing. So, it feels like every day there's a new tactic, a new tool, a new platform, or whatever. And almost every book you read, almost every podcast you listen to, whatever, they're telling you to do more and more, right? Publish more often on social, be on more podcasts, do all of those sorts of things. And what I found was that the best and most sophisticated marketers in the world, they didn't do 1,000 things. They didn't do hundreds of things. They concentrate on a few small things that really move the needle. And they're the things that I wanted to talk about in the book, to show what are the things that really move the needle from a marketing perspective. And so let's remove all of the stuff that really either doesn't make sense or isn't profitable or is diluting your focus. I love the quote. It's from Charlie Munger. He says, take a simple idea, but take it seriously, right? Do something simple, but take it seriously. So, and it applies to many areas of life, not just marketing. So if I want to get strong, it's, 3 or 4 different movements, a deadlift, a bench press, a squat. That's going to help make me strong. Now, there is a lot of, yes, we've got to get the movements right. Yes, we've got to progressively overload and things like that. But really getting strong is kind of simple. Same with getting healthy, same with getting your marketing right. So it's a few simple things done daily, weekly, monthly that are going to get you the big results. And that's really what I like to focus on, both with my clients and in my books with lean marketing and the one-page marketing plan.
On the note of getting rid of stuff, I just very recently read the new Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson, which, by the way, I can't overstate how good this book was. And I know that Elon's a polarizing figure. This seems like I'm totally fanboying. I'm not. It's actually a comment more on Walter Isaacson, the writer. This thing reads like a novel, and it's huge. Anyway, there's this thing that Elon uses in his businesses he calls the algorithm, and it's basically a list of questions that challenge assumptions about the thing that they are making. One of the sort of fundamental tenets is about getting rid of stuff, and what he says, and when it comes to what he says about a manufacturing process, is that you need to remove steps so aggressively that if you're not at the end adding back about 10%, you haven't gone aggressively enough. And that's just a comment about getting rid of waste, decluttering a factory floor. If you look at the Gigafactory, if you look at SpaceX, if you look at anything that he does, Twitter's a great example. He follows this algorithm very, very closely. And I think that there's something we can learn from that approach to our businesses and certainly the marketing therein.
Look, that is 100% true. I mean, it's 1,000% true. Every single time that I've simplified the business, removed products, simplified marketing, and really that's my job, helping people simplify their marketing and help make it more effective. And every time we do that, we get a better result. And, I continue to learn that lesson in my own business. I mean, we recently removed 2 or 3 products from our product offering. We made it all simpler and we make more revenue. And, a lot of times people feel like adding is the way to go. And it feels that way because everybody's pushing something, someone's got a new SEO trick, someone's got a new funnel tool, someone's got some AI thing or whatever. And these are all cool things. I'm by no means immune to tools and bright, shiny objects, but these just adding constantly, it just creates a lot of waste, a lot of distraction, a lot of loss of focus. And, just simplifying can be a massive win for your business and for your marketing particularly. There
is a line in the beginning of the book. I think it's in the intro of the first chapter, and you're I think it's a section where you're kind of like speaking to the audience, trying to like let them know if it's one of those sections. You see this in books. It's like, hey, you're in the right place and I'm just going to read it. You incinerated huge sums of money on a marketing or branding agency, and all you had to show for it was a shiny new logo and some pretty design. Impact on your revenue? Approximately 0. So I just want to ask here, because it's kind of funny and it's certainly relatable. Like, you've mentioned the waste thing, and I think that's a common trait we can all observe. But is there something about marketing and marketing service providers, if a small business owner is working with a third party, like why is this felt and lived experience of lighting money on fire for very ineffective marketing, why is that so widespread?
Yeah, and you can ask me, why is it so relatable? And how do I know it's the case? It's because I've been there, right? I've been the one who's incinerated tons of money with a marketing agency and got no result. So, I spent a lot of my early entrepreneurial career doing trial and error with marketing, and it's been mostly error. And one of the things that, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years, that I've found is that it's so much more common to hear, those horror stories where, I spent tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands with a marketing agency and I got no result. And this is because there are many marketing agencies that are generalists out there. And I think the days of a generalist marketing agency is over. And here's why. So to do marketing is so wide ranging now. So you've got to be good at web design, copy, now AI, graphic design, all of these things. There are so many different functions.
Multidisciplinary would be a good word.
Very much multidisciplinary. And to expect one agency to be awesome at all of it, they're silly if they take that on. And you're probably, a little bit naive if you think that they're going to do an amazing job at all of those things. Now, having said that, I absolutely use marketing agencies, but for very, very specialized tasks. So you might work with someone who's an expert at TikTok ads or someone who's an expert at growing a YouTube channel, whatever. So experts are worth their weight in gold. But if you think, hey, I'm just going to outsource all my marketing to a marketing agency, I 100% guarantee you that will not end well, right? You'll spend a lot of money and you'll be very disappointed. They'll have taken on a mission impossible, and they'll never know your business as well as you do. They'll never care about your business as much as you do. So marketing is a core activity of every business, so you need to own that function. Now, that doesn't mean you need to do all the work. You might have an internal team, you may have some external providers, but you need to own the strategy. It's a core function of your business. It's not like IT or HR or something like that where you can outsource that function and it be successful. It's not like that at all. And in fact, let's say for argument's sake, let's say you did find the unicorn generalist marketing agency and they did an amazing job for you. You're now building their intellectual property and their capability, not yours. And so your business has become significantly less valuable, because if you ever go to sell or scale business or get venture capital or whatever, and if you own the intellectual property where you know how to get, retain, and convert a customer, that's valuable intellectual property. Whereas if it's all in a black box that somebody else owns, then that's not intellectual property that you own. That's made your business significantly less valuable. So I've had businesses that have been acquired because we had powerful intellectual property on how they could acquire customers, how they could retain customers, how they could convert customers. And so that's something that's super, super valuable in your business.
We're going to go through 9 lean marketing principles that I gleaned from the book. We'll throw it up on screen here. You can see the cover, and we'll link it in the description too, guys, if you want to read this. I would give this book a very, very full endorsement from me, by the way. It was very robust and thorough. I thought you did a really good job with it, Allan. But before we dive into these principles, I got to talk about my wardrobe briefly. So guys, outfit today is brought to you by Brushstrokes Painting. This is owned by Ryan Gill. They're a commercial and industrial painting contractor. They operate in Augusta, Georgia. They've been in Breakthrough Academy for 2.5 years. They've grown 200% since becoming a member, and they've gone from losing 20% every year to averaging a 20% net profit for the last 1.5 years. Quote from Ryan, BTA helped me pull my head out of the clouds and learn my numbers and my business. So Ryan, thank you for the shirt and the outfit. If you want to check out Breakthrough Academy and work with the best contractors in North America, work with the best coaches and advisors, that's what we do. We will make a link available to click on screen right now. Check us out. Let's get back to the conversation with Allan. So, okay, lean marketing principles. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna read each one. You're gonna explain it. I might have some comments or some follow-up questions. We'll riff on each for a few, maybe provide some examples, some color commentary,
Sure.
and we'll kind of do this that way, kind of like a little listicle, but in a podcast. So lean marketing principle 1, create value for your target market with your marketing.
Yeah, so a lot of times people feel like marketing's this thing, it's kind of the price we have to pay to get clients and get revenue and get new business in the door. And it feels like this sleazy thing that we've got to do, or it's just a price we've got to pay. The best marketers actually use their marketing to actually create value for their target market. So thinking of someone in your industry or maybe adjacent to your industry, I don't know, have you ever heard of Marcus Sheridan?
Yeah, he's been on the show twice. He's speaking. He's speaking at our event in January. We love Marcus.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. So I caught up with him we were at an event for 2 days in Nashville pretty recently, and we were appropriately we were chilling out in a swimming pool. So he created massive value for people with his marketing. So he was well known. He was in this. I think he still is in the swimming pool industry. And so if you searched for anything swimming pool related, like, how much power will I need or whatever to power a swimming pool, or how big should XYZ be or whatever, or you would likely come up to some of his content. Now, you may or may not have even been in the same country as Marcus, but regardless, his marketing created massive value for a lot of people, even people who would never become his customers. So I might be in Australia, and when I was building my house, I did search for stuff swimming pool related because, again, I had some questions. I was like, I need a gas heater, all of that sort of thing for my swimming pool. And so I came across a lot of Marcus's content. And even though I'm in Australia, he's in the United States. And so I'm not going to buy a swimming pool from him, obviously. So I still got a lot of value from his marketing. And so that's really the key in lean marketing principle number one is you want your marketing to be so valuable that it's almost a product on its own. You could almost or charge for it because it's so good. So rather than it being the price you have to pay and it being sleazy and interruption fueled and just spammy kind of stuff that you have to do to get revenue and to get clients, why don't we make it so valuable just on its own? Think of it as a product on its own that someone would potentially even pay for. And that's going to get massive goodwill, massive brand equity for you. And so now Marcus is renowned all over the world because he did that, right? He's invited to places to speak. He's got a book. He does all sorts of things, all because he created a lot of value with his marketing, and he sold a ton of swimming pools in the process as well.
He sold a ton of swimming pools in the process. It's a good point. There's an important distinction here between a lot of stuff out there on the internet. I'll use blogs as an example because they're kind of an easy one to dunk on. 98% of the blogs out there, 2 minutes after clicking on it, you're reading down and you're kind of going, this isn't saying anything. This was clearly written to anchor a few keywords and hopefully rank and hopefully help the website. But it's like, no. I actually want help learning about snow removal for my commercial property. And I'm 40% the way through this quote unquote blog that is, X secrets to whatever. And there's nothing of substance here, X back. I'm going to restart my search and go somewhere else. That's a very different thing. And Marcus is a good example, sticking with the blogs. When you read his stuff, you're like, this was written exactly for me. This is answering the questions I had going into it. And it's literally answering questions that coming up in my mind as I read this in a stream of consciousness fashion. And I think, this is a really interesting idea, and it may feel kind of abstract for a roofer or a painter who's going hey, I do a few Facebook campaigns, I do some direct mail, we knock on a few doors, we've got a good website. How do I create value with my marketing? There's some really cool stuff some really cool a visualizing tool for a painting business so you can actually see what your house is going to look like when the job is done. Really cool estimating tools, online interactive things on web, pricing calculators. There's all sorts of stuff that I've seen out there that, you'd think a junk removal company, how cool can the marketing be? If you get outside the box, it can be pretty cool. It can be its own standalone thing. So just a few examples to check out.
Well, I mean, the thing I would say is just be useful. Imagine a friend was asking you about, your industry or what you do. A friend would say, "Hey, I need to get junk removal. I can't buy from you because I'm in a different city. But what should I look out for? How much should I pay? All of that sort of stuff." So, how would you be helpful to a friend around your industry, around your industry knowledge? So, just be helpful. Yeah. Be helpful to your target market.
That's a good thought exercise. How would you be helpful to a friend? Okay, lean marketing principle number 2, embed marketing throughout the entire product lifecycle and customer journey.
Yeah, so a lot of times people create a product or create a service or whatever, and they're like, all right, now let's find a market to sell it to. So let's sprinkle marketing on top and try and get people to buy. And so that's completely backwards. In Silicon Valley, they call that a solution in search of a problem, right? We've got this cool technology, this cool widget, this cool whatever. Now let's find someone or some use case to buy it. And it's completely backwards, right? So from a product perspective, that can manifest itself many different ways. But a lot of times it's like, there's no strong demand for this or whatever. So I think in your industry, that's less of a problem because, if you're a contractor, there's
the demand forces are there.
The demand forces are there. But a lot of times you can integrate marketing throughout the product lifecycle. So if I think of someone in your industry, I think of do you know Pinks? Have you seen Pinks, the window cleaners in Austin?
I'm not familiar with them. I'll look them up though.
Yeah, so they're window cleaners, but they've grown massively because it's very theatrical. They all wear this funny uniform. Their social media presence is it's built through social media, through word of mouth. So they've done a really, really good job with that. So they've kind of embedded marketing throughout their whole product life cycle. So it's not something that, hey, we need to figure out how to get some window cleaning clients, so let's make some cheesy video or whatever. It's like you get to come along on the ride. Like people literally buy their merch now. This is a window cleaning company and they're buying, hats and T-shirts and stuff like that. They're selling merch. They've integrated marketing so much throughout their whole life cycle. So that's an example of integrating marketing throughout your whole life cycle. Now, it's not just for getting an existing client, but it's also how do we turn one client into two clients into four? So how can we get clients to be net referrers? So when we get one client, we actually get 1.5 or 2 clients or whatever that is. So how can we make that easy by arming our referrers to refer to us, to make it easy for people to find out about us, all of that sort of thing. So thinking that through from start to end, through the whole product life cycle. So rather than trying to figure out, okay, how do we get more clients, think about, okay, we're going to embed marketing throughout, and we're going to figure out how, when someone becomes a client, how do we easily get them to spread the word about us? When we've delivered the service, how do we make it easy for them to pass something on from us to somebody else? So thinking that through the whole entire life cycle, that's super, super powerful.
Is there anything that is sort of, I don't know, hate the word cutting edge, but newer, unconventional, unexpected? Like, are there tactics, tools, ways of doing this? The traditional approach would be do great work and word will get out, and take care of your customers and they'll take care of you. And there's about a million other kind of like adages, all of which are true, but they're sort of like, those are tried and tested classics. Is there like anything, I don't know, unconventional that you're seeing out there when it comes to embedding this throughout the life cycle and taking one customer, turning it into two into four, and so on, that you find really effective?
Yeah. So, and I'll give you a pretty concrete example. So if for a referral to happen, think about how a referral has to happen. So there has to be a conversation happening. So I might be talking to my friend and saying, hey, I'm thinking about remodeling my kitchen. And my friend then has to say, oh, look, I know Bob, the kitchen guy. You should talk to him, right? So a couple of things have to happen. We have to have that conversation. My friend has to recognize that that's what the conversation is about. And then number 3, they have to make that referral. Now, how can we make that easier and more frictionless? Now, imagine the other thing is he's unlikely to make that referral unless he's sure that I'm ready to go. Like if I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of thinking about remodeling my kitchen, I'm not really sure or whatever, he's probably unlikely to make a referral unless I'm ready to go. Because why? Because he doesn't want to put me in a situation where I'm getting sales pressure from somebody or whatever. So how can he make it easy for me to kind of get a taste? So what I like to do is arm referrers. So leave something behind that can be passed on. So imagine you left a guide of beautiful kitchens that you've done, samples or maybe color swatches or whatever. So my friend can then say, hey, look, I used Bob the Builder and he did a great job. Actually, here's a little booklet that he left behind showing some of his past work or whatever, that might inspire some ideas. So so that's an example for, say, a kitchen remodeler. So what can you leave behind that they can pass on? Because someone will only make a referral generally when they know somebody is ready to buy and it's a perfect fit. But if you're not sure if it's a perfect fit, you're not sure that they're ready to buy, something that they can pass on easily will be good. So that could be a brochure, that could be a gift voucher, that could be a book. So in my industry, I use my book, right? People pass my book on to somebody else and say, hey, check this out. If you resonate with some of those ideas, you might connect with lean marketing.
Totally. Or it's a podcast. I mean, there's so many great little shareable things. By the way, if you're listening and you have a friend that should listen to this pod or they should check out Breakthrough Academy, there's a little share button. We did that on purpose. It's very, very easy to send this around. I like that the way you framed it, though. It's like arm your referrers. It's not actually incredibly obvious to previous customers that they should spread the gospel on your behalf. And even if they wanted to, they're not always sure how is it, do I send them to the website? Yeah. Should I just give them your phone number? Yeah. It is good to over explain this with the customers that you do excellent work for. So I love that. Let's talk.
And oftentimes you can't even remember. I was in this exact situation. I want someone to do some carpentry work for me, and someone did some carpentry for me 3 years ago. They did a really good job, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name. Yeah. I don't know. I have to look for their details somewhere. And I don't know, it may be easier just to find someone new, but if they had have left something behind or an easy way for kept in contact with me or whatever, but like I said, even though I was happy with them, they did a great job, I want them back, and I've lost the mechanism.
Yeah, interesting. Man, our memories fail us, don't they? I always think I'm going to, remember someone's name or phone number, even obvious stuff. I just, for the life of me, I can't. It's funny. I had somebody do a reno 3 years ago too. I was so happy. Can't remember his name. Yeah, it's good. Okay, let's talk about lean marketing principle number 3. Market comes before product. I love this idea. You were kind of alluding to some of the Silicon Valley approaches to this. I think this is such an interesting idea for marketing in general, not one that gets talked about in this space enough. So let's dive into that one. Market comes before product.
Yeah, so a lot of people have a product or a service and then they're looking for a market for it. So like I said earlier, that's kind of completely backwards. So what we want to figure out is who are our people? We want to do stuff for our people, not people for our stuff. So who is your ideal target market? Who do you want to serve? Because it feels natural to want to cast the net wide, meaning, hey, we do kitchen remodeling for everyone, or we do concrete for everyone. And that may be true. Maybe everyone could benefit from your product or service. And it feels counterintuitive to really target your market down to a particular target market. But it's really the way that the world works now. If you look at your search engine history, particularly with things that you want to buy, you'll find that it's very, very specific. You're not typing in car or doctor. You're typing in, Ford F-150 in downtown San Francisco or something like that, or you're typing in knee specialist.
Not to interrupt, it's so true. I'm looking for a deep freeze right now. I live in a condo. It's 1,200 square feet. So it's not tiny, but I don't have space for a deep freeze. I've been doing, it's deep freeze for condos, deep freeze for small units.
Exactly.
I'm wanting to get into hunting. I want to buy half a cow and eat better quality meat, but the little crappy freezer on my fridge isn't big enough. So I'm doing there's this entire investigative mission to find the right condo freezer for Benji. So anyway, just a funny little aside. You're absolutely right. We're very specific.
That's a perfect example. And realistically, deep freezers are probably the same for condos and for houses and for anything else. But you're searching for your specific problem, and your clients are all exactly the same. They're typing in kitchen remodel with some specific type of tile or whatever it is. So or maybe a specific budget or a specific type or whatever. So I like to look at 3 factors to figure out, what's a perfect target market for me. So number 1 is who would really value what you do? Because within your target market, if we pulled a spreadsheet or out of your accounting system and we sorted all of your clients from best to worst, down the bottom of the list there'll be clients you're like, oh, I never want to deal with a client like this again. They were difficult. They kept price shopping me. They paid late. They were hard to work with. And then at the top of your list, you're like, man, I love working with this type of client. They were easy to work with. They love what we do. What we do fits them perfectly. And that could be by price, could be by demographic, could be by location, could be by any number of factors. And so what you want to do is you want to target your market at those top 5 to 10% ideal clients, because that's going to make your life so much better. First of all, it's going to be more profitable. It's going to be more fun. They're going to value what you do more. So I had a client in the contractor space, and their whole thing was they would charge a lot more for doing bathroom remodels, but their guarantee was they were done in a week, right? And so that's kind of unheard of in that industry, because people would one of the things people hate in that industry is, you're going to mess up my house for months and months, and it's going to take a long time, and my house is going to be a mess and all of that. They're like, look, we will be in and out in 1 week and we're done. And so for that, they were able to charge a lot more. Now, someone in a different demographic, they might not value speed as much, but their target market was people who were professionals, who had a lot of money in an area, in a very specific area. And so they valued time a lot, and they valued their house not being messed up. And so they were willing to pay for that. So that can be something that's a differentiator. So they knew their target market very well, and that informed everything. That informed where they advertised. That informed what their whole sales process.
Who they hire, the type of gear they use, the production process. I mean, its implications are far-reaching. I really like this point about the bathroom in a week is a good example, because I think in this space we don't have the freedom the way that a VC-backed Silicon Valley entrepreneur does to kind of figure out the problem and then reverse engineer some SaaS product for that. It's like, no, like people need bathrooms, people need paint jobs, people need landscaping. So in a sense, this market, and we've said this before, is in a way commoditized, but the way that I think you accomplish lean marketing principle number 3, market comes before product, is by we do this for this ideal candidate profile. Like, so we do bathrooms, so do a million other people. We do bathrooms for people who really freaking give a that it's done in less than a week. Like that's your slam dunk. And so I think if you can just take your service one niche further down, there's a whole lot that gets easier on the other side of it. Okay, let's keep moving. Lean marketing principle number 4, use the tools and technology to do the heavy lifting and reduce friction. I mean, we're so teched out. Everyone just gets bombarded with technology, tools, software. Yeah. Put a finer point on this. What do you mean specifically as it relates to our marketing?
So I look for things that are going to create leverage, because if we're going to do less stuff and get a bigger result, which is really what lean marketing is all about. We're going to do less marketing, less stuff, but we're going to get a bigger result. That implies leverage. Now, one of the things that can give us massive leverage is tools. So tools and technology. So how can we reduce manual steps? How can we remove some of the heavy lifting? How can we reduce friction by using tools and technology? And I think for contractors, this is an absolute no-brainer. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had, a contractor come to my house, pull out some, a pen and paper and on the back of a napkin give me an estimate or whatever. No follow-up whatsoever. I don't know when they're showing up. So this is such a no-brainer for contractors, is to basically put in some basic tools, some basic technology that a lot of other businesses have had for a long time, but is kind of missing in this industry for to a large degree. And, again, if your target market is someone that values time, that values efficiency, all of those sorts of things, they will pay you more for it. I know, because I have paid more for people because people returned a phone call on time, because they sent me a text message saying, hey, I'm running, half an hour late, but I'll see you shortly, because they sent an email with an estimate that I could just click on and accept or whatever, rather than, tear my hair out chasing someone and all of that sort of stuff. So basic tools and technology, and I'm not even getting into AI and all of that, but I mean, there are now amazing AI tools that will help you do things faster, quicker, cheaper. So all of those sorts of things will help you do two things: do more with less, so you can do more marketing, do more efficient, do better marketing with less resources, but also reduce the friction with the end customer. Because I think, in particularly for contractors, there's a ton of friction for a customer to go from, initially making contact with you to getting their work done.
Oh, it's
right?
incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a broken record here, but I'll say it again. We are less than 10 years away from nobody allowing you to come over to their house to look at a job. It's all going to be done through drone footage and scans and video calls. And this is the idea of sort of coming over for 2 hours and doing a long coffee and look at the house, outside of your occasional boomer client who really wants that. It's not going to happen. So it's a great example. I pay more for my haircuts because the guy has an auto booking thing on his website. Totally. This is awesome. I don't care that it's $10 more. I don't have to call anyone. It takes 2 seconds. I know when they're open and they're closed. It's automated. It's great. Hey, just while we're on it, 3 favorite, don't overthink it, 3 favorite AI tools for marketing, and then their use cases. What are you kind of into right now?
So I really love Descript. So we use that for our podcast editing, and it transcribes and all of that sort of stuff. I use 11 Labs for very realistic audio. So you can give it a script and it will say that audio in a very, very realistic voice. And then I use a tool that essentially plugs into ChatGPT. It's called Mind Mac, but it's on my Mac all the time. So I can basically ask a question, fine tune it with the different large language model that I want. But essentially, for most people, it would be like ChatGPT or Claude or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And what are you using GPT for predominantly? Is it brainstorming partner? Is it script writing? Is it actual copy that goes on collateral that you guys make?
I don't use it for actual copy because I think the copy that it produces is pretty crappy, but it'll be something like, I definitely use it as a writing tool in terms of, hey, give me 5 words that mean this,
right.
Helping me brainstorm, or, I can't quite complete the sentence. I'm like, how should this end? And I'll give it the sentence and I'll say, give me 5 different completions for this sentence. Or as a research tool as well, I use it. So for example, I'll say, give me 5 Silicon Valley companies that pivoted after they initially launched or something like that. So I like it for those use cases.
It's funny. I used it to try to get a summary of the book, and I read it. I was like, there's more here. So I had to buy the actual book. Sam Altman failed me when it came to prepping for this podcast. I had to get the actual one on my Kindle, but yeah, no, those are great examples. Okay, lean marketing principle 5, use assets to increase your yield on marketing activities. What does that mean?
So when you look at the difference between the wealthy and the poor, the difference is generally assets, right? Wealthy people own assets. So to use a simple example, if you own property, you can earn rental income and you don't have to do anything for that rental income. It's just because you own the asset. Or if you own stocks, you earn dividends. And again, you don't have to do anything for that. So the wealthy have assets, and those assets generate income. Whereas people who are maybe middle class or poor or whatever, they generate their income from labor. So they have to do stuff. They have to show up. They have to do stuff to generate. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But if as soon as you can get assets working for you, that's when your results and your income absolutely skyrocket. The exact same thing is true from a marketing perspective. So from a marketing perspective, in the beginning, it may be mostly from your labor, like you're cold calling, you're doing cold outreach, you're doing all that stuff to get business. And nothing wrong with that. Everyone has to start somewhere. But as soon as you possibly can, you want marketing assets out there working for you. Now, what's an example of a marketing asset? So I'll use my own business as an example. Why am I appearing on this podcast? I didn't reach out to you. I didn't ask you to be on or whatever. Every single day in my email inbox, I have people who say, hey, can you come and speak at our event? Can you be on my podcast as a guest? Can we join one of your programs or whatever? Why? Because I have a marketing asset, which is my book out there, right? So that creates a lot of inbound opportunities, a lot of inbound requests, all of those sorts of things. So for me, in my business, my book is a marketing asset that's out there and it's doing the work whether I show up or not. So in a similar way, you want to either build or buy assets in your business that generate lead flow. So that could be a book, that could be a podcast. There's a good reason why you're doing this podcast because it's a valuable asset. It builds an audience. It has people who, I'm assuming you run some kind of program or have some kind of back end or whatever, right? So again, it's a marketing asset. So what assets can you create in your business that will generate that lead flow? And we spoke earlier about, an estimation tool, some valuable content. What's going to attract people to you, whether you work actively or not. So we want to basically create those assets in your business.
The stuff I think about, some of this is going to be really obvious. One is just going to be your brand. I mean, ideally, and I'm sort of like, I'm outing a bunch of people here, but ideally your business isn't called like Benji's Painting or BC Painting. Many are. Yeah. Brushstrokes, this is a great example. Like, this is a nice brand. It's a nice logo. It's a simple idea. You can spend $250,000 on a brand, or you can spend $1,000 on Fiverr and get something that's probably going to be better than 90% of your competition. That's one of the nice things about this space. So your brand is one, your website's one, your social media presence would be one. I'm thinking as well too, Allan, like another marketing asset would be, I don't know how you describe this. It's like the playbooks for active marketing, whether that be like, hey, in our business, we have the competence, the tools, and the know-how and the SOP to run cost-effective digital campaigns on Instagram and Facebook. Or another one, hey, we have the know-how, the collateral, the team, the routes figured out to do really effective door-to-door marketing, and we can get leads that way. Like those are marketing assets that a business could have under their purview. Are there other obvious ones for this arena that you could think of?
So again, going back to what we talked about earlier, so Marcus Sheridan's website is an asset. It actively, like every single day, it would get search traffic. It would get people opting in his email list. So can you create some kind of magnet that will have people wanting that, right? An example I give in the book is what I call a flagship piece of content. Yeah. So what's a piece of content that you are going to be famous for? So like I said, in my example, for me, it's my book. For Tim Ferriss, it's his podcast. So for Mr. Beast, it's his YouTube channel. So what's a piece of content that you can be famous for? Now, I'm quoting ones that are kind of big and huge and very, very well known. Now, obviously, you don't have to be that big and well known in your business, but could it be a booklet of color matching samples or whatever, or this tile goes with this type of bench or whatever? So something that's going to be actually useful to your target market, where someone might even share it with somebody else. Right. Like somebody might say, hey, you got to check this out. It shows you exactly, the whole process to build a kitchen or a bathroom, or how to color match it, or whatever it is. So is there an asset that you can build, something that you can be famous for, that's going to have your name on it, that would be genuinely useful for someone?
I love that. I think that I think that marketing assets, brand assets are quite often underinvested in. I work with a small team here at Breakthrough Academy to lead our brand and lead our content. This is something I spend a lot of time thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a couple things I think about would be like cost effective. Can we get this done relatively inexpensively with the team we have or contractors that exist out there? Is it easy, or is this going to take me a pile of time and planning and writing to make? And then another one I think about too is versatility. Can I use this in multiple different use cases? So like, I think, one thing that I've talked about a lot on the podcast is I wish contractors would invest more in their sales collateral. That little nice printed binder maybe it's a digital version that lives on an iPad that you leave, in front of the customer while you're estimating whatever. Like that is something that you make once, and it's going to get you 5 years, 6 years of runway before you need to update it. Maybe a little less if your business is growing quickly, but the idea of assets are things that you build, invest in, and then you have for a while. They do work for you for a while. In a way that many other things don't. A lead has some utility for a very short period of time. Assets are something that do work for you, are workforces for you into the future. I'm going to move on to number 6 just for the sake of time. This is maybe my favorite on the list. Selling is the best way to build a brand. That's lead marketing principle number 6. As a sales guy myself, tell us why this is important.
So a lot of people do what they perceive to be brand building, which is usually messing around with colors and logos and design and all of that. And I'm not saying design is bad. For sure. You want nice, clean, clear design on your website, in your business, all of that sort of thing. But that's a world away from branding. So when people think of branding, they think of big businesses like Nike or Coca-Cola or Apple with big flashy ads and billboards and all of that sort of stuff. But really, those things are a result of their success. They're not the cause of their success. So Nike started with its founder, Phil Knight. He was just selling shoes out of the trunk of his car. Coca-Cola started with a guy selling syrup at soda fountains in pharmacies. Apple started with the two Steves just selling computers at electronics stores and computer clubs and things like that. So the best way to build a brand is just to sell stuff, to be well known in your industry. Now, I kind of say that kind of simplistically, but really what you want is it comes down to the definition of a brand. So a lot of people say, if you ask 7 people what is a brand, you'll get 7 different answers. But a brand is really the personality of a business. So, and what better way for someone to know the personality of your business than to actually work with you? So what does it mean to work with you? What do you stand for? Is it speed? Is it the theatrical way that you deliver what you do? And I'll come back to that business Pinks, right? If you said, hey, I'm going to create a window cleaning brand, you would be like, this guy's nuts, right? But they've literally done it in such a way that people are buying their merch, right? People are buying hats and T-shirts and all of that sort of thing because they've essentially built a brand in that area. And so the core deliverable, what they do, which is cleaning windows, really is probably the same as any other window cleaner. Maybe they do a good job and all of that sort of thing. But it's the stuff that's kind of around the main thing. And here's what I've found is that the main thing that people think that they're competing on is rarely the thing that they're actually competing on, right? So, for example, I'll give you an example from my own business, and I think some people can probably relate. I've switched accountants maybe four times or so in my business career. Now, I didn't switch accountants because the next accountant was technically better than the previous accountant. They all pretty much got the same bag of tricks for legally minimizing tax. They're all working with the same tax code. So the core deliverable is pretty much the same across all of them. The reason I switched was, this guy returns phone calls. This guy responds to emails. This guy is proactive. So all pretty much nothing to do with accounting. So you build a brand generally with stuff that's nothing to do with the core deliverable of what you're actually doing. It's all the stuff that surrounds it. The contact, the emails, the follow-up, the nurturing, the customer service, all of those things. These are things that are really brand builders. This is how someone gets to know your personality and the personality of your business, and to pass you on to somebody else or buy from you or refer you or whatever else. These are the things that really build a brand.
The other reason too is because when you're quote unquote brand building for your little construction company in whatever market you operate in, it's not like you're calling in focus groups and doing intense market research to understand what our ideal candidate buyer is. Like, that's not real. The way that you learn about what your people want is you sell to them. And then you listen to what they say. So the feedback loop, like the listening mechanism that's available as a seller, is better, more pure, more direct, faster than anything that's available to you in the small business marketplace. And so that's the other reason. It's like, if you want to build a brand, you want to start to make brand promises. What promises should I make? Well, ask your buyers. And the best way to do that is to go and give them a quote and then do the job for them. So I just, it's probably people know that already, but it bears repeating. Okay. Principle number 7, marketing is a process, not an event.
Yeah, so a lot of people treat marketing like a once and done thing. So a new rebrand, a website launch, or whatever, right? And none of those things are bad things on their own. But the people who win at marketing are the people who do stuff daily, weekly, monthly. So, and often that means having a person in your business, or even maybe it could even be a part-time role, but someone who wakes up in the morning and thinks about marketing your business. So what do we need to do daily? What do we need to do weekly? What do we need to do monthly? So, and this again goes back to what I said in the beginning. It's a simple idea, but take it seriously. So an example for that contractors could easily use: a handwritten thank you note. After you've maybe done a quote or delivered a service or whatever. How much would that cost you to do? I mean, write a handwritten note, put it in the mail and send it. Maybe $2 tops. It's a simple idea, but I guarantee you, if you did that consistently, you would get way more referrals. You'd get better reviews. You'd get people who refer you new business, who buy more from you. Again, very, very simple idea, but you need to have that as a process. You can't just do it once or occasionally, or I forgot this time or whatever. So you need to create those processes. So when you create a process, you need to figure out, okay, who's going to do it? When are they going to do it, and what are they going to do? So you may have someone dedicated in your business that, hey, a few days after I've sent out a quote, a handwritten note goes out. And this is what the handwritten note says, right? So, or you may have a process where, hey, once you've delivered a job, an email automatically goes out and asks them to leave a Google review. So again, that's a process. So people do things kind of haphazardly, and of course they get haphazard results. So, but if you create a process, those things create compound interest. So kind of like how, you set aside a small amount of money over a long period of time, and then it builds and builds and builds. But the thing that really makes it expand is compound interest. And compound interest applies to marketing just as much as it does finance.
That's the flywheel. Lean marketing principle number 8, use content to create a pulling force.
Yeah. So a lot of times we're kind of pushing. And push is fine, especially in the beginning. That's maybe what you've got to offer. But we talked about creating content. And, for people who are contractors, you don't have to do anything super crazy. I mean, I spend a bit of time on TikTok, and sometimes there's just people doing very simple stuff, and it's entertaining, like just seeing how a concrete driveway is poured, or how something is built, or how something's manufactured or created or whatever. So create content that will be interesting to your ideal target market. And a lot of times it'll be stuff that you'll think of it as like, well, this is boring. This is just, everyone in my industry does it the same way. But that's because you're an industry insider. You know all of the stuff. Like the average lay person, this stuff is interesting, and especially someone who's in market for what you do. So, for example, I'm in market at the moment for someone to help me remodel my home gym, right? And I'm looking at TikToks of cool home gyms, and I'm like thinking, okay, I need a mirror. I want mirrors here. I want it all the roof to be painted black. I want this and that. So I'm in market. I'm looking for ideas and all of that. And if this is what you do all day long, this will be obvious to you. You'll be like, yeah, you've got to put the rubber down here. You got to put the mirror here. You've got to move the squat rack here. All of that sort of thing. So that may be all obvious and boring to you, but to someone who's interested in that, someone who's in market for that, this is really, really interesting, and I want to know.
Yeah, and I think I as well too, like these businesses, because they exist and they deal in physical reality, right? They are literal. They're a content maker's wet dream. There's so many angles. There's so many process. There's so many tactile things that you can zoom in on and do this or do that. There's this guy SMB Mowing or something on TikTok and YouTube as well. All he does is he goes and he does hedging and basically landscape maintenance for like basically impoverished houses and families where they can't afford it. The guy's got like, I don't know, 10 million followers on TikTok. He's massive. And all he does is go around with like a steel weed eater and clean up driveways. Like, it's unbelievable the market there is. There are so many eyeballs wanting to watch stuff. So I love that. Okay, let's close out here with, this might be one of the most important ones, but Lean Marketing Principle 9, test, measure, and continuously improve each step in your marketing campaigns.
Yeah, so this is so important. You know, a lot of times I'll be speaking to someone and they're like, tried marketing, doesn't work in my industry. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. So, you know, if we go back, we kind of started in the beginning, we were talking about lean and as it applies to manufacturing. Now, if someone was in manufacturing and they said, tried manufacturing, didn't work, wouldn't the first thing you would say, you'd be like, hang on, well, what do you mean manufacturing doesn't work? Well, what didn't work? And that's really what we want to figure out from a marketing perspective. So there are different steps in your whole funnel. So number one is, did they click on the ad? Okay, we had a look. Cool, they clicked through on the ads, no problem. So the ad is not the problem. Did they opt in on the landing page? No, they didn't opt in on the landing page. Okay, so now we're troubleshooting step number 2. We're like, all right, cool. Was the copy confusing? Was there maybe a technical problem with the landing page? Is the offer not compelling enough or whatever? So rather than just saying, hey, I tried advertising or I tried marketing or whatever, it just didn't work, we want to see at what stage are we having kind of a blockage or things are breaking down. Now, even when it's working really well, we still want to analyze every step of the marketing process to see, hey, can we improve on this? So can we get, you know, if currently we've got 2% of people clicking on the ad, can we get 3% of people clicking on the ad? Can we get, 5% clicking? If we've got a 10% opt-in rate, can we move that to 15%? So at every step, we want to be optimizing each and every step. And if we do have a blockage somewhere where we're not getting a good return on investment, we're spending too much and we're getting too little in return, okay, well, let's figure out where things are breaking down. Is it at the ad? Is it at the opt-in? Is it at the quote? Is it that our sales team isn't converting well enough? So where are things breaking down? And so many times people haven't just done that analysis of where is it breaking down in the process, and even when it's working well, how can we improve on the control?
I love it, and I think that the testing and measuring part is when people say marketing doesn't work, what they're saying is the first thing I tried didn't work. Right. Yeah. What they're not doing is the 100th try. I mean, people look at our stuff, and I think we do a decent job branding and marketing what we sell. You guys don't see the so many stuff that got tested and failed, so we had to can it. We tried something else. I mean, the stuff that actually sees the light of day is iterated to a point that would make most people's heads spin. Let's close on this question. We're a little over time. You're a busy guy. As we head into what could be a slightly more dicey market, we've got some economic headwinds here in Canada and the U.S., Canada more than the U.S. What advice do you have for contractors with their brand building and marketing as we move into a more challenging market situation?
So my advice regardless of challenging market situation or not, because this is going to serve you well in this business, in any future business you take, is to change your mindset. So rather than you being a contractor who markets themselves, reframe that as you're a marketer and you just happen to be selling some kind of contracting service right now. So marketing is the master skill of business. If you can figure out how to profitably get a client, you will prosper in any market. You'll prosper when the market is really good. You'll prosper when the market is no good. So, and you'll prosper if you sell this business and you decide to start another one or buy another one or whatever. So marketing is the master skill of business. If you can figure out how to get clients in a repeatable, in a cost-effective way, then that's going to set you up for this business and any future business you take and in any economy.
Allan, you're the man. I love the book, dude. Where can people find you online? Are you a good LinkedIn follow? Should they go to Instagram? Tell the people your stuff.
Yeah, I'm at leanmarketing.com. You can download a copy of the one-page marketing plan canvas for free. My books are Lean Marketing and the one-page marketing plan. You can get that wherever books are sold. It's very popular on Audible as well if you prefer to listen. So that's where I am.
Thanks, Allan. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Contractor Evolution. If you've already subscribed to our channel, consider sharing this episode with another contractor who you think needs to hear it.